Welcome everyone to our today's Inspiration Lab, Better Decision Making with Entrepreneurial Mindset. My name is Jochen Schell. I'm the director of YEP Europe, and let me just do something. Here we go. So I'm going to introduce you now to our speaker, but before I wanted to tell you give you some information on YEP Europe and also this webinar in terms of technical information. So YEP Europe is at the center of the YEP community network. We are a network of about 100 communities and organizations across Europe in 17 countries. And these organizations, communities work with our YEP approach and methodology of youth and community empowerment. So what we do a lot is capacity building programs for young people and youth workers, so people working with young people. And we do a lot of work in social entrepreneurship, in what we call community-based entrepreneurship. And this webinar feeds into this. So these inspiration e-labs, what we call them, are focused on social entrepreneurship or entrepreneurship. And we have inspiring speakers who basically give us a lot of input in terms of skills. And the objective here is to learn and to get inspired and to act for change. So technical information on this webinar, you can use the chat. You should have a chat button somewhere where you can write questions, but we will also invite you to participate. Guido, our speaker, will ask you questions and invite you to participate actively. So Guido, you already see him here in the video. I'll introduce you to Guido shortly. He's the director of NEFTI Germany. NEFTI is the network for teaching entrepreneurship. Guido is a project, he's the director and has been a consultant and a trainer in entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship skills for many years. And he has also worked for an organization called Garage Berlin GmbH. And yes, what else? Well, NEFTI is very much known for training teachers in schools, and they're very known for their vivid and creative and interactive learning methods. And I hope I did not forget major things, Guido. I give the word to you now, and we're very excited to hear more from you on the topic decision making.
Okay. Hello, everybody. A very warm welcome to all of you out there. And just before starting and showing you the presentation, there are two questions that came to my mind in preparation of the webinar. The first one is, what do you think? Why did Steve Jobs decided to realize the iPod? And the second one is, what do you think is the mindset of Elon Musk? And this is how we start the webinar. And
so should people write this in the chat?
Yeah, I think the best way would be if you just write down what you think to these questions.
Okay, so the first one, can you repeat the question maybe?
The first one is, why did Steve Jobs decided to realize the iPod? Mm-hmm. And the second one is, what do you think is the mindset of Elon Musk? So I give you 2 or 3 minutes just to think about. Hello, Vernon, how are you?
So you see these answers, Guido, in the chat?
Yes, I see.
Okay,
just drop them down. Mm-hmm. And the next thing.
So who is the second guy? Here's a question.
Yeah, I see. I just write it down. It's Elon Musk.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you're pasting the answers here into the slide. Great.
Yeah.
So he was improving existing technical solutions. He wanted to revolutionize how we listen to music. Okay, so there's not more coming.
Okay. So don't worry. The question is, or what you may ask yourself is, who's asking these questions? And Jochen just said that I'm the managing director of Nifty Germany, and he said Nifty is network for teaching entrepreneurship. And for all our visitors from Germany, you can have a look at nfte.de for further information, and there will be an international slide on the website, so you can see where we are international connected. It is not only Germany, but it's all over Europe, and there are some connections to the United States and all over the world. So an interesting network. And the idea is to bring entrepreneurship education to schools all over Germany. To our point of view, entrepreneurship education is much more than economical competences. Entrepreneurship education is personal development and picking up social competences. And I started to run my own business in 2004. This is what you haven't said yet, I think, Jochen. And my topics are training, coaching, consulting. And for 7 years, I managed a company that was Garage, as you said, and we supported jobless people to create their own workplace. So they started to be self-employed. And before we go on in the webinar, just let me know what kind of aims do you have from this or of this webinar? What do you think out there? I think just Vernon is discussing with us. What do you think, Vernon? Okay. Any other aims? Who's that? Who wants to learn? Okay. I've got a question. What do you mean by better decisions?
So I actually wrote that. So this is about making better decisions through an entrepreneurial mindset. And this is what I meant by better decisions. So how through an entrepreneurial mindset you can actually make good or better decisions.
Okay.
So
another one. Yeah, this is always a good aim for this webinar, not to learn from the mistakes from others. That's what we always do whenever, well, our children learn from parents, and they learn by mistakes themselves. Whenever you put your fingers on a hot stuff, you never will do that again. So this is mistake learning, try and error. Okay, as a project manager and as a managing director, as I am now, I always have to decide a lot of things. That's why I started to research about decision making. And before we start, please let me know. So we got these aims. These are my aims for this webinar now for you. I want you to know what an entrepreneurial mindset is. I agree, Vernon, what you just wrote down in the chat. I want you to have an idea how to develop this mindset. I want you to understand what entrepreneurial competences are. Mm-hmm. And in the end, you can use these competences in different decision-making situations. But before we go on with the complete webinar, just let me tell you what I decided to do. I want to talk with you about decisions in general. Then we should reflect on decision making. How are you doing decisions in the moment? Then we should talk about entrepreneurial mindset. What challenges do we have, and how can a mindset help? And parts of the mindset are not scientific. That's what I think. We will do some exercises. So the whole webinar should be a little bit interactive and using the chat function. And we'll see how the whole thing is going on. Okay, any questions so far? Do you agree or do you disagree with my aims and your aims? Do they fit?
Sounds great.
Ah, thanks.
All grand with me, so I don't see any objections.
So either, me either. Okay, so let's talk about decisions. A decision is a deliberate choice between alternatives or between several different variants based on specific things. What do you have in mind? And I ask myself a question. How do I make decisions? And this is not so easy to explain and to give an answer. Just I want you to post how you do your decisions first. Some people think it's analytically, and some people think it's intuitive. So what do you think? Where do you have to be? On which side are you? Are you more analytically or are you more intuitive? What do you think? What do you think, Jochen? Are you still with us?
Yes, of course, I'm with you, and I already wrote analytical.
So you are over here somewhere?
Yes.
Vernon is over here. Haha.
Depends on what kind of decision. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, another analytical. That's great. Tanya, what do you mean? Most of the times, are you more analytical or more intuitive? Okay, what is that? Gianluca? Over here. Okay, Tanya, more analytical. Down here. Anybody else?
Somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, that's what everybody wants to be, somewhere in the middle. Well, I tell you where I am. I'm over here. This is my answer. I'm very, very intuitive. Whenever I do a seminar with the topic decision making, I do that with people in the automotive industry, and there are lots of engineers. These engineers are mostly on the analytically side. So a lot of people think that they decide in an analytical way. But in the end, and if you are honest with yourself, nearly all cases where you have to decide something, your intuition is the pulse. It has to do with your preferences, experiences, and lessons learned. This is psychological. An example, why do baseball players decide to run after a ball? They have no time to be analytically, because when they start to think about what is the speed of the ball, how high it is, what is the power of the battle, and so on, the ball would be somewhere else on the pitch, and the opponent would have been successful. So there must be something else inside of all of us that helps us to have, well, Mr. Gigerenzer, he called that rules of thumbs. Have you heard of that?
Mm-hmm.
And if you do it scientific, you can talk about heuristics. And so if you follow these rules of thumbs, which is intuition, yeah, you can save time. And if you are not sure with your decision, you just put on your head and think about it, and then you arise in your head, and that's analytical. Okay. Questions so far? Do you know another super guy from or another guy? It's not working anymore. This guy over here. What is YB, Vernon?
Youth Bank.
Ah.
The organization Vernon works for, it's Youth Bank International.
Ah, haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. What do you mean by that?
You mean Vernon? Well,
yes.
Well, he has to write it, what he means by that. So, so maybe you can continue, and I'll
okay.
check his answers. Yeah.
Okay. On this slide, you see Albert Einstein, and Albert Einstein just had an idea, because if you think of decisions, and if you have low uncertainty, few alternatives, and a large amount of data, you should do it very exactly. But, and this is the most important thing to my point of view, and whenever we are talking about entrepreneurial things, we have a high uncertainty, we have not a lot of alternatives, and we have a small amount of data, because we can't look into the future. So there should be something from lessons that we learned, from experiences, what I just said before. So then we should just do it as Nike just had in their ads. Yeah, just do it. Try and see what's going on, what is happening. Somebody's not seeing Vernon's comments.
I'll write to him. Don't worry. You can continue.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. There it. Mm-hmm.
This was for you, huh? No. Okay. So just do it is what Einstein says, yeah. And an example for that is Edison just did it, and after 139 years, new producers have to do it exactly. You know, the lamp that Edison invented, and today it has to be a perfect one with a low or with a lot of energy saving and lifelong lasting and all these things. So it has to be exactly. Okay, everybody?
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about entrepreneurial mindset. Entrepreneurial mindset refers to a specific state of mind which orientates human conduct towards entrepreneurial activities and outcomes. Individuals with entrepreneurial mindsets are often drawn to opportunities, innovation, and new value creation. Characteristics include the ability to take calculated risks and accept the realities of change and uncertainty. We have to look closer to these four statements. There's one in the first sentence, the state of mind. To my mind, you have to be open-minded. Your established ways of thinking need to be reflected and changed if you want to. That is, to my point of view, personal development. The next statement is conduct towards entrepreneurial activities and outcomes. To my point of view, is that mankind wants to be successful. You can observe this every day. For example, on a tennis court, Ivan Lendl and Boris Becker try to perfect their first serve. That's entrepreneurial. A winner is an idol, is a money-making person. So that's entrepreneurial. If you want to earn a lot of money, it is not only just hitting the ball over the net, but it has to be perfect so that the other guy on the other side of the net is not able to reach the ball. And this is what we have in business as well. If you have two car producing companies, the one of these companies wants to be better than the other one. So this is competition. And we have that in sports and we have that in business as well. The third one is draw to opportunities. And I think this is a result of the statement just before when we talked about sports and competition. And I have an graphic for you. And this is drawn to opportunities, innovation, and new value. It has to do a lot of with motivation. And the motivation is a circle. If you have a wrong attitude, there is low energy. If you have low energy, you will have not many activities. And if you don't have many activities, you have less results. And the results reflect on your attitude or influence your attitude. So you can do this circle downwards or you can do it upwards. So it is not, positive thinking is too easy for that, to my point of view. But in the end, if you have an attitude to see chances and not problems, challenges and not problems, you have a positive attitude, and the positive attitude gives you energy. Energy gives you activities. Activities gives you results. And so on, so on, so on. So it's just motivation by having, I would say, entrepreneurial attitude. Okay, and the last one is to take calculated risk. To my point of view, we live in a very disruptive world. Everything is changing and changes fast. New technologies require new ways of thinking. New ways of thinking bring out new business models, new opportunity arise, new challenges must be mastered. Okay. I made a list for you of challenges you need to face in making decisions. Do you think that there are more? The first one is you have to take a risk. That's always what we have to, that's always what we do when we have to decide something. Often we don't know the result of the decision we have to take, we have to do, or we made. We don't know what kind of feedback we get from our decision. What we also don't know is if the solution we found out is the right one for the problem we're just facing. We always don't know what happens after our decision. And well, in the end, we don't know if there's someone out there who blames us for the decision we just made. So I think these are very, very important challenges of decisions. And this is why many people don't decide anything, because they have a kind of fear for the results, for the consequences of the decision they made. Do you see any more challenges? Have we lost all of our participants here?
No, they're still there. They're still there. I guess they're thinking.
I hope so.
I mean, I don't know if it's in the list, but maybe some decisions, some fear for decisions could be based on fear for being judged as well, you know? For the
Yeah, I know.
Fear of uncertainty we have here.
Okay.
The context and customs of the neighborhood have an impact. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. This is funny, Vernon, because my youngest son, he said, I have to do the A levels, and I said, who told you to do the A levels? And then he said, the society. And I'm just thinking about, what can society tell you to make the A levels? That's interesting.
Yeah, and here we have also fear of previous bad decisions we made.
Yeah, okay. How can let's go ahead and think how an entrepreneurial mindset could help. Mm-hmm. I picked up some of the challenges, and the first one I picked up was you don't know the result of your decision. And if you have an entrepreneurial mindset, I don't know the result either of the topic of the decision. And if I don't know the result, maybe I can change the decision in a way because I ask for the needs for somebody. As I asked you in the beginning of the webinar, I just said, what are your aims? So and if you look back on that, what you have in mind as an aim for this webinar, I ask for needs. And what I just did before, I decided to do some topics before, but in the end, and in the webinar itself, I can change something. Mm-hmm. So it is not, a decision is not strictly a decision. You can change things. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The next one, you don't know what feedback you get. I think every feedback is useful. It helps to get better. This is Sarah downstairs, the fear of previous bad decisions we made. You got feedback when you did a bad decision. So thanks, be thankful for the feedback and make it better. You know what you have to do better.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know if your solution is the right one. The entrepreneur inside of me says, nor do I, but making a mistake helps to get better. If you don't make it twice. If you make it twice, that's not very, very intelligent, I would say. And the next one, where is it? Hey, look, the presentation stopped. I don't know what happened.
Okay. But do you see it on your screen? Can you say it?
I can see it. I can see it.
Okay, maybe you can say it.
The fourth one is there someone who blames you?
Mm-hmm.
And the entrepreneurial mindset is the one who blames addresses not me, but my solution.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is not personal. He doesn't even know you, but he knows what he sees, and this is the solution. And so he blames the solution and not you in person.
Which goes very much in line what Vernon is writing here, that the feedback is number one and important, but however, it is how it is communicated. That is important. Mm-hmm.
There's the blame one. Okay. As we found out, an entrepreneurial mindset is a question of attitude. If you are working for somebody like me in the moment, an entrepreneurial mindset is related to the culture of the company you are working for. These points could be a help in every decision-making situation. I often think, what is the worst case? If I'm unsure, I ask for needs to safeguard the decision. This is the first one, in other words. Feedback is a question of culture as well, because mistakes are born for made. If you made a mistake twice, that's not very interesting. That's not very clever. The third one is a question of culture as well. But we are entrepreneurs, and this is why we beware of calculated risk. So we are not jumping from a high mountain without a parachute, because we would be dead when we dash down. But if we have a parachute and this is working, the risk is calculated. That depends on the weather forecast and all these things, but it is entrepreneurial to take a calculated risk.
Mm-hmm.
And the last one is a question of attitude. If I can be cool, and I know that the person I'm talking to or the person who's giving feedback doesn't know me in person. He just sees my solution.
Mm-hmm.
Only can mean my solution, not me in person. I think this is a very, very important attitude. Okay. Now I want to introduce you some parts of an entrepreneurial mindset.
Mm-hmm.
As we said, taking over responsibility voluntary. We are not forced to take over responsibility. We do that voluntarily. We are thinking in solutions for problems. We are aware of processes whenever we are intrapreneurs, not entrepreneurs. Yeah, the workers in companies who think the process we are just doing is not fluently enough. It could be cheaper and it's too expensive. Well, we should change the process, and where we are aware of them. So these are intrapreneurs. They are aware of products, entrepreneurs. We're talking about e-mobility now. So there's somebody aware of a product. And if you see the new business models, say Uber, for example, or the sharing company, these are business models. And if you are aware of, you can see, you find things or models or processes or products where you can generate a business from. Entrepreneurs are self-confident and self-efficient. This is what we teach the teachers to tell their pupils, their students, to be self-efficient, because they do something and the answer, the feedback is, hey, you are good at. And the answer is not, or the feedback is not, you are bad at. And when you get a feedback like you are good at, you are motivated to do even better, and to maybe you learn more vocabularies in another language, or maybe you try to run faster, or try to get the biological stuff in school better in your mind, or whatever. So if you realize that you are self-efficient, you get more self-confident, and you are even more successful in life, to my point of view. Entrepreneurs are resourceful. That means they look after themselves, and they don't go on parties all over the night when they have to do some big things the next day. I think entrepreneurs are open-minded for opportunities. That means, well, I used to go to work, and I have to go on the Autobahn, and every morning when I went on the Autobahn, I can see cars with only one person in the car. And I think there should be an opportunity for car sharing. We already have that, but it is an opportunity to say, here's you can have we can share the cars, so you save money, we can save we can look after the climate, the surroundings, and all these stuff. So looking for opportunities is entrepreneurial, and there are lots of cases in everybody's life. And entrepreneurs have a vision. Like this guy from the Netherlands, he said, I want to clean up the oceans. The vision is not, I clean up the oceans. The vision is, I can swim in fresh and refreshing and clean water. This is the vision. So it is a really, really huge thing. And that brings me to, as I said before, to the exercises. And the first one is, create yourself a vision board. A vision is bigger than an aim or a goal. The vision is much more. It is for a long term. As is said in the word vision, create something you can look at constantly when you leave home, when you brush your teeth. A vision board is a kind of artwork. So my idea now is that you take a pen and a sheet of paper and just make a sketch out of your vision board. For example, a friend of mine who used to run a consulting agency wants to have a family, twice a year high quality holiday, and a place where he can live with his family together. He was pendeling between Nuremberg and Hamburg twice a week. So he made a kind of artwork, a collage of this vision. So do you know what I mean? Just watch newspapers or magazines, and if you find a picture from a nice island or mountains or a landscape scene, just cut it out of the newspaper and put it on a sheet of paper. And so it's a kind of collage what your vision is like, and put that on a place in your flat where you can see that every day. And then your brain starts to think in these pictures, and your brain leads you to the things that you have to do to reach this vision. Do you know what I mean?
So the picture should symbolize that vision, basically.
Yes,
yeah.
yes, yes. So in this example, there could be 3 people, man, woman, and baby or whatever, a skiing holiday and a swimming holiday, and a nice place where you can live, a house or a flat or whatever. So just put on a picture and glued somewhere. So, and this is where all your activities go to. Yeah, what have I got to do to start a family? Well, I need to have a partner. That's for sure.
Could help, yeah.
Yeah.
This could help, yeah. Yeah, but this is an exercise for people to do at home, not right now, obviously. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the second exercise is just write down what your next aims are. And if you're thinking about the aim of this year, just write it down. And write it down like in marketing speech. It has to be written down in the SMART method. Ever heard of SMART?
Mm-hmm.
Which specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-related. And if you write down, I want to be the best webinar giver ever, this is not an aim, this is an idea. The aim is within 1 year, I increase the numbers of participants in my webinars from 3 to 15. This is specific, it is measurable, it is achievable, I think it is realistic, and it is time related. And if you have an aim like this, every activity is done to reach this aim. If you want to run 100 meters in a very short time, you have to exercise your muscles. So you have to do something to reach that aim, and it is nothing else. I think it is that easy. Okay, and the third one.
Mm-hmm.
The third one is, where is it? It's over here. The third one is find yourself a sparring partner. Do you know, like what boxers do? They have a sparring partner. And in business, we can also have sparring partners. If I'm planning this webinar, I can exchange my ideas with Jochen or with people in my surroundings, and just thinking or talking about the content and what I want to do. And these people are normally friendly minded to you, but they are allowed to criticize you.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you heard of success teams or mastermind groups or anything like that. So what you do when you talk to others, It is a kind of accountability what you create, and that helps you to reach your aims that you want to reach. So in the end, I think these 3 exercises and these 3 points can help you to find out what an entrepreneurial mindset, to develop an entrepreneurial mindset. And the entrepreneurial mindset helps you to find better decisions, to my point of view. Because if you are aware of the risks and you think, oh, the risks are absolutely high, they are not absolutely high. The risks are there, but you can cope with them.
Mm-hmm.
You know that they are there. Okay? So this should be it from the webinar. And I think I hope I gave you some inspiration and maybe some basics to think about, some ideas, and hope to see you soon. And thanks for being with me today, and have fun in the future with your own entrepreneurial mindset. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Guido. We have a little bit more time for questions. I would like to invite people to post their questions in the chat. I have been observing the chat while you were talking, and there was an interesting exchange going on non-formal learning and school learning, and I'm not going to go into details. It was just something which made me think, and I have a question, so people can maybe think of their questions and I shoot first. It's linked to this, and you, Nefti, you do entrepreneurship teaching in schools, specifically with teachers, and I wonder, how do you manage when entrepreneurship learning is all about thinking out of the box and out of the system, so to speak, while school and formal school is so much about curricula, about within the framework of the box. So how do you manage this challenge? How do you bring teachers to kind of change their mindset when teaching entrepreneurship skills to young people? Does it make sense, this question?
The question makes a lot of sense, and this is the biggest challenge that we have every day to convince teachers in trying to or just doing entrepreneurship education. You know, I have we talked about visions, and my vision is that we have in the German school system a year of entrepreneurial education. And I think it is not only economic topics. There are many, many more topics. And if you do the marketing stuff in German lessons, when you do when you read a book from Steve Jobs or whatever in English, you just learn economical or entrepreneurial mindset en passant, as we say in France, yeah. And all the other things, you have Google. So what do you need to understand topics like in biology? Yeah. If I have a question, I can Google that. So what is knowledge and what is education? What is the difference there? And I think entrepreneurial stuff is much more education and not knowledge.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is. I'm asking the question because we can also see that, and I think it is. I guess very, very interesting to do entrepreneurship in schools, where things are more preset, and entrepreneurship teaching is, or learning is about the opposite.
Yeah.
To think out of the box. And I guess there must be a lot of resistance sometimes also from teachers in schools. Mm. Are there more questions?
There was one from Warren about life skills in schools.
Oh, somebody wrote in the chat. So how do we stay in the learning zone without entering the panic zone?
Okay.
This is a good question. And I can understand the fear behind that. But what is meant by panic zone? A decision is never a decision between life and death. Never ever. In our normal surrounding, what I think. So there's no need to get into the panic zone. It is just a respect zone, I would say. And if you have a calculated risk, yeah, it is just climbing up the highest mountain and thinking about how do I get downhill again. There are lots of possibilities without entering, and you don't have to enter the panic zone. Maybe you have fear from height, so you better don't fly from up there. But in the end, there's no way to go into the panic zone. What are we talking about?
Well, I guess there is what you mentioned before, the fear factor while taking decisions because of the risks which does exist, whatever decision you make. And I guess it's also, I think I read it in the chat, there were some people mentioned life skills and or life experience, and I guess it's easier to make decisions with more life experience than someone who has very little life experience. And this is why I like your sparing partner exercise, because I know from experience that people, especially when within the context of entrepreneurship learning, having someone, a critical friend who is giving constructive feedback is a very, very constructive thing. And it should not be your mother or your best friend who's anyway saying, yeah, everything is great. It should be someone you can trust and who can help you, who still gives you critical feedback in a constructive way. Here's another question. Are you reading this?
Which one do you mean?
Vernon. Stretching yourself beyond things you have done before, making yourself professionally vulnerable, the panic zone. Okay, that was just an explanation to the panic.
Ah, okay.
Great. So are there more questions? Would you like to add something, Guido, maybe, while we wait for another question?
Well, making yourself professionally vulnerable. Let me switch back in the sheet, and I said somewhere, I said the one who blames me, let me see the right thing. The one who blames addresses not me, but my solution. If you have this attitude, you will never reach the panic zone, because you are yourself you are not professionally vulnerable, because the only thing what counts is the product or the process. The other guy who brings you to the panic zone doesn't even know you. That's what I think. You will never reach the panic zone.
Well, I see what you say, but I also understand what is referred to here, because it is, of course, a human thing to feel
Yeah.
vulnerable and whatever, if it's in entrepreneurship or in a professional context, you always, it's normal, I think, to have some fear for criticism, or even if it's only what you do and not what you are, which is criticized, it's still a human thing to.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's rather a suggestion from your side to look at it or to take it like this, and not
Yes.
personally, but rather to take feedback in that way, I guess.
Yeah.
Great. So I don't see more questions. And I see the time, and it's time to wrap it up. So I would like at this stage to thank you, Guido. Thank you very much for this input. It was very interesting, inspiring, and as usual, we've been recording this webinar, and it will be sent around so that people can also benefit from it, people who were not present today.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank also our participants for joining us. We will be advertising soon our next webinar, probably in February, March. It will take place. And yeah, thank you very much. Have a great day, and hope to see you again in the next webinars in 2019. So thank you very much, Guido, and the rest of you.
No, thank you. You're very welcome.
Great. Thank you, and bye-bye.
Okay.
Ciao.
Bye. Bye. Ciao.